If the home was burning, think about the contents of a home. Every can of paint, every chemical that's in that house, vegetable oils, it all got cooked up into the fire. This is not a regular wildfire situation. When you have a situation where a lot of structures are burnt and the contents of those structures, this is a new game. You cannot heal in the place that made you sick. You cannot detox your body if you don't detox your home first.
What can an air purifier do for us in situations like that when we do have all these different chemicals that we're dealing with?
The best filter of all time is nature. The sun, the wind, the trees, the ocean. Air quality, whether it's dementia, Alzheimer's, fertility, thyroid, skin, sleep, the amount of hard evidence on the impact of air on people is wild.
Mike Feldstein is an air quality expert with a background in wildfire restoration, air quality consulting, and home remediation during some of the biggest natural disasters. Mike founded Jaspr to innovate in air science and technology. His goal is to protect air quality and improve human health using the latest air quality science. As of this recording, we just experienced a huge issue with wildfires here in Los Angeles. Many friends and colleagues lost their homes, and the air quality, is happening on multiple sides, was definitely a huge issue for a lot of people. And to have you here right now, again, even though this is weeks later, most people are under the assumption that the air quality is okay now. But there are some insights that we all need to know. So what do people need to know about the air quality right now after being exposed to these wildfires?
Well, on that note, I got to thank you because you were the kick in the ass I needed to be here right now. So originally, I think we were looking at scheduling like a month or something out, and they got an email. It's like, how soon can we go? And I'm like, maybe Feb 21. And then I was in Mexico a couple weeks ago, and I was like, yo, that's way too long. That's way too long. How about the best day is ASAP? Yeah. So we locked the day in. And then because we were locked in for today, I flew here 5 days ago, and I put out an Instagram post the day before I came saying, people of Los Angeles, I'm coming Feb 8 to 18, and I'm going to be doing free air testing. So we got hundreds of people who applied to have me come to their home and inspect their house to see what's going on, test the air, give them a plan of action. So that's what I've been doing the whole time, the last few days. And I will say that I've had a cameraman with me. So we're going to be putting all of that out there. Yeah. But there's a lot to be concerned about, actually. So the top questions that I've been getting here are, first of all, I met someone yesterday. Her dog's in New York City. She sent her dog there because when they were going for walks, her dog was having breathing issues. Somebody else, her name's Kayla Barnes, actually. She's kind of into big in the longevity space. So she gets her blood work every month because she's really on top of that health optimization. Her blood work since the fire is off the charts. Her chemicals, her heavy metals, her mycotoxins. So she shared it with me yesterday. So now I'm working with her, and everything that's elevated in her blood, I'm going to start testing the air for. But there's some significant signs. So, and I'm in the wellness space too. So people who are more aware and attuned to the situation, and they're like, hey, should I be moving from LA? This is coming up. People are like, I don't know if I should stay here. So if you break it down, the disaster spectrum ranges from your home is completely burnt down to you were 20 miles from the fire. It was smoky. You saw some flames, and you think it's okay right now. That's the range. Coming one step in from your house was lost is your neighbor's house burnt down. So you were in extremely close proximity to fires. Then there's the people who were a mile or two. So they're in the smoke damage crowd of varying amounts. So what I'm seeing so far, so an average outdoor day, if I measure the air quality, there's in LA, it's a little bit higher. So let's say 500,000 to 600,000 particles floating in the air. In the last few days when I've been testing it, this is everything: pollution, rubber from the tires, cooking, pet dander, all the stuff that's in our air. It's been about 2.25 million since I've been here. And that's not even that's not even looking at chemicals and gases. So let's just say regular fire and smoke is already very harmful for us. And if you've ever been by a campfire, playing some music, eating some s'mores, one of you throws the marshmallow bag on the fire or the Ziploc bag, even that thing, when a little bit of plastic is burning in front of you, you feel that toxic smell. You're like, yo, that was not good. Don't do that again. Well, now let's think about this. So we had 12,000 homes burned, at least 12,000 cars burned, A lot of those cars were EVs and Tesla with multiple several thousand-pound batteries. So when I was in Altadena yesterday, the EPA and these environmental hazardous cleanup crews are everywhere, getting the batteries off the lots and all the hazardous materials before anyone can even re-enter those sites. So yeah, so if the home was burning, think about the contents of a home. Every can of paint, WD-40, Lysol, Windex, every chemical that's in that house, vegetable oils, it all got cooked up into the fire, right? Like every contents of that home, the drywall, the furniture, the fire retardants, the computers, the car, the fuel. So this is not a regular wildfire situation. When you have a situation where a lot of structures are burnt and the contents of those structures, this is a new game.
Yeah.
So for most of the people here, insurance companies and restoration contractors, they've never dealt with something like this before. There's no playbook. So even the people they're treating it like smoke damage. That's the playbook that they're rolling out. It's just smoke. It is not just smoke. So you need to not just be testing for ash and soot. You need to be testing for hexavalent chromium, for PAH, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. You need to be testing for, it's more of a chemical fire in the LA region than it is just a regular wildfire smoke situation.
That's mind blowing. Again, we don't think about that. If it's a wildfire, that denotes wild, right? So we've got trees and, deforestation that's getting burnt. But now we're talking about these chemical complexes. And how long does this stuff stay in the air?
There's no to give a definitive answer. I'd be full of shit because there's a lot of factors at play. For example, the fire that I dealt with in Fort McMurray, Alberta, 2016, biggest fire in Canadian history. 2,500 homes were totally burnt, but it was an inland and it was a valley. So even a month after, you could barely not see anything. The interesting thing here is you're so close to the coast. So there's a lot more airflow happening. It's also a really, really big spread out city. Also the type of, the composition of the ground and the plants. So there's too many factors. The only way to know is doing random soil testing, random dust testing, and random air testing. This is the kind of thing to monitor, but definitely months, because even if the ambient smoke has moved on, like I said, those homes are just sitting there. I showed you guys the pictures that I was seeing yesterday.
Yeah.
The molten aluminum. And
talk about that. The molten aluminum was crazy to see that. And you just used your phone and recorded it. I'd never seen anything like that.
Yeah, it is a sight to be seen. Honestly, I can't recommend it enough to anyone who lives in LA. Go to Altadena and just drive through the neighborhood. You can go to the Palisades, but Altadena is a more relatable neighborhood. Just seeing the situation there, the disparity, and 5 minutes away from that neighborhood, you wouldn't even know there was a fire. It looks normal. There's the mall, there's the gas station, and then all of a sudden you enter that zone and you could just see burnt homes, hundreds of them in a row. So the molten aluminum was from a cargo van that literally, I took pictures inside the van too. There's nothing left. There's just the frame of the car, but it looks like these metal rivers. Because when the aluminum has a melting point of about 1,200 degrees Fahrenheit, typically a house fire is 1,800 to 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That's that's the temperature that a house burns at. So that means the metals got liquefied. So you literally see these metal rivers where there was cars and parts of homes just flowing through the streets. And it doesn't all turn into a solid metal. That means there's a lot of airborne metals as well that you cannot see. So this is an unprecedented type of fire. A lot of people are quoting 9/11 in 2001, all the people who got chronically sick because they lived in proximity to 9/11 years after that, all kinds of health issues. So are we currently living through one of those right now? We don't, I'm not here to be alarmist because it's not certain that we are. That's why I'm here. I wanted to get my boots on the ground and say, what's going on here? And then do some additional testing, do some random testing. And I'm in a fortunate position that I know how to test air and test soil and test water. So I'm going to be running a lot of tests this week and just publishing it to not just be guessing. But the answer is a while. And because those piles of ash are sitting there every time. So what you really should be doing, what the city should be doing, is using water trucks. And every day driving by all the burnt homes, although there's no water around here, driving by the burnt homes with a water truck and hydrating the ash. Luckily today it rained. Pray for rain, and it's a nice light rain, so it's not going to give us any mudslide problems, but it's hydrating those piles of ash, which is it's doing. Nature is the best filter of all time is nature. The sun, the wind, the trees, the ocean, the UV light. So the more rain and the more wind, the filtration will naturally happen. But yeah, I'm pretty concerned, and I'm not just concerned for the people who lost their homes. I'm concerned for really everybody. What needs to happen now is varying levels of a smoke detox, and it's not that difficult to do. But yeah, anyone who lives in LA has some level of detoxing to do in their home.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing this, because again, we tend to see just the superficial outcomes of these things. And especially when it comes to air, it's something that's largely invisible for us. And getting that feedback, for example, you mentioned Kayla and her blood work, and people who are monitoring what's going on in their bodies and seeing all of these dangerous chemicals on the rise in her system. Like, we're all experiencing that. And again, just getting more awareness about it and thinking about what we can do. And also for us, and understanding this is likely not the last time that, maybe not of this magnitude, but wildfires would take place here. And some of the things that we can do. The first day that I was able to get back in the studio, because our studio, the area was closed, and I brought my Jaspr air filter along. And I can't even tell you, I've got some stories to share about my experience so far, but if you can you share what got you into focusing on air quality in the first place? And in particular, you mentioned your experience being around the ramifications of wildfires in Canada. So what were some of the things that you saw, and why was air quality something you focused on?
Yeah. So what got me into air, and I would have never thought 10 years ago that I would be the air guy. It is quite surprising. I wasn't even like a science kid growing up or anything like that. But before this, I got into the disaster removal business, disaster cleanup. So think toxic mold situations, flood, fires, hurricanes, earthquakes, things of that nature. So what I learned when I was in these wildfire and flood situations, mold situations, is that, when you go to do a mold removal job, you test the air before, you test the air at the end. It's called, a clearance test. Let's make sure the mold's actually gone. Same thing with floods, same things with fires. And what I very quickly learned was, even when we would do our clearance test at the end of a job after restoring a hotel or a home or a building, that what we were considering clear and good to go wasn't very good. So to tie this to something that'd be really relatable for your audience and for you would be like food stuff. So, when you go get your blood work done, if you're just going to like a regular doctor, we'll do your routine blood work. They're like, we'll call you if you're dying. Other than that, people are like, I got my blood tested. For what? I don't know. They just tested my blood. I'm like, there's not just like the blood test, but what they're considering good and normal, their normal ranges keep going up. Normal is supposed to mean average. To me, normal should mean somewhere closer to optimal. But that's not the way that it works with blood testing and with food and with any of that stuff. And it's frustrating. So the same standards are applying to people's air in their home. So what they're considering a building or a home having good, safe air, no, that's normal air. But indoor air is bad. The average indoor air is 5 to 10 times dirtier than outdoor air. So what should be considered good should be outdoor air in a non-polluted environment. That's just air. And when you're like inside, I need to go outside and get a breath of fresh air because it feels stuffy inside. You go outside, it's like, that is not even that clean, but just getting outside makes you feel so much better because the carbon dioxide is decreased. Because the way we're building homes right now is quite unacceptable with the materials we're using and things like that. So for me, it really started from mold, fire, flood, cleaning up the worst air possible. My own personal health. I got psoriasis developed when I was 26, living in a hazardous fire zone for 7 months. And so what really got me into it was being in those bad environments, and then it opened my eyes because I wasn't even thinking about air. And then I'm like, oh, damn, this really is impacting me. And then when I lived in a house, we called it the flood house, where all of like the restoration guys would live together, and we had big air scrubbers in our home, and like that was our clean air sanctuary. And then I remember I came back home to Toronto at the time, and I had different family members who had health issues, and I was buying them air purifiers for their bedrooms, and consistently they were sleeping better. Their allergies were going down. I'm like, okay. So that's what kind of like woke me up to my air journey. And then I spent about 9 years going down the rabbit hole of consulting people on their air. So I would go into people's homes if they were sick at home and didn't know why. They're doing the supplements. They're doing the stuff. They're eating right. They're exercising. They're drinking filtered water, but they just don't feel good. Then one day they go on a vacation. They go camping. They feel great. I'm solved. They go back home. They feel sick again. Then they're like, oh shit, is my home making me sick? Then I was the guy that you would call if you had that moment where we would come in and do a deep dive. What's in your air? What's in your water? What's hiding behind the walls? How about your carpet? How about your bedding? What are you breathing? And then giving people plans to optimize their indoor environments. I like the saying, you cannot heal in the place that made you sick, or you cannot detox your body if you don't detox your home first. If you're in a sick environment, you can take all the pills and saunas you want, but it's just going in one side and out the other. And then I'm like, okay, I could dedicate the next 20 years of my life to raising air awareness, wherever this may take me.
Well, you mentioned this term air scrubbers.
Yes.
So can you talk about what that is versus
Sure can.
the run-of-the-mill air purifier you might pick up at, a typical store?
Yeah, so air scrubbers is what we would use to remediate a toxic building. So let's say we're doing, whether it's a mold removal job or a big smoke damage cleanup, air scrubbers are the heavy-duty air purifiers. What's good about them? They are amazing at cleaning the air. Like one of those is like 30 small air purifiers, just to put it into like simple, relatable terms. The downside is they're incredibly loud, big, and ugly. So if you just had a mold, very practical, but there's no way you could live with that in your home. It would literally sound like there's a truck in your living room. And then if you look at the other side of the spectrum, the small little air purifiers that you'd get at a big box store, Amazon, Walmart, or something like that, they're affordable. They're cute. They go in the corner, but they don't do anything. So it was really clear to me as a restoration guy, I'm like, whoa. And I remember there was a lady named Angela in Fort McMurray, Alberta. She had a sick baby. We left an air scrubber in her house, and I went to her house to check on things, and it was unplugged. I'm like, Angela, what are you doing? Like, she had a sick baby and horrible air. And she's like, I know, Mike. I'm sorry. I'm like, don't say sorry to me. But she's like, it's so loud. It's so loud. I just couldn't take it. So we cleaned the air pollution, but we created the noise pollution, which is another significant, it's like light pollution. Noise pollution is a problem too. So I was like, okay, what we really need, and the whole idea for Jaspr was to create an air purifier specifically for wildfire smoke. So I'm like, that's all I thought I was focusing on. I'm like, we need something that can handle the job of a big fire or a big flood, but it has to be quiet. It has to be beautiful, and it has to be made out of steel. None of this plastic stuff. So basically like industrial grade, but with the aesthetic that you'd be proud to put it in your home. Because if it's not beautiful in your home, it's going to hide in the closet, and you're going to unplug it when people come over. And that's not an answer. It needed to be beautiful. So yeah, that's how one thing led to the next. And now here we are.
Yeah. And people wouldn't even realize this, but Jaspr's running right here in the studio right now, and it's doing a fantastic job. The difference between the Jaspr air purifier versus anything else, we're not going to even drop any names, that shall remain nameless. My Jaspr is in my bedroom, which that was one of my gripes with the previous, before I found out about you, was that number one, light pollution, right? So it's got all these bright buttons and things that are just illuminating my bedroom. So I got to try to tape it and find different ways to cover that up. And also, of course, the sound can be an issue in situations like this. And so it's got a great dimmer on there, number one. And also, having it in my bedroom, my wife was downstairs, even today, cooking downstairs, and Jaspr picks it up that she's downstairs cooking, and it can pick up what's happening in the air and give you instantaneous feedback. So let's talk about some of the features with Jaspr and what makes it so exceptional.
And like what you're saying is really important, because people don't realize that your home is a shared environment. So you could have a newborn baby up in its crib. You could have a big 4,000 square foot house. Baby's in the crib sleeping upstairs, and you're cooking some bacon or lighting some incense in the main room. You don't realize that if there's a Jaspr or an air, if you're measuring the air in baby's bedroom when you're cooking or when there's incense burning or some candles, Jasper's going red in your baby's room too. So you don't realize when there's these polluting events, either in your home or even your neighbor across the street using bounce sheets in their dryer. Now those chemicals are outside. No, that's coming in your home, and that's going in every room of the house. So that's why, first of all, we were originally creating a whole home purifier that goes into your furnace. I figured the most beautiful would be out of sight, out of mind completely. But we spent a few years on it. We tested them all, and it was just very ineffective. It needed to be more like a Sonos situation. Like we learned that the answer is not a huge speaker in your living room with the bass bumping, where it's like you'd have to turn it up. It's either too loud in this room or I can't hear it in that room. We learned the right system is something like a Sonos, where we can have just the right volume in every room. So the optimal air system has to be decentralized. So you can clean the you can clean the air in the areas that need it most. So it had to be set. What was important to me when I wanted to create it was it had to have no annoying lights, had to be made out of steel, because if we use plastic, it's going to only last a couple years. That's why most companies have a 1-year warranty. It has to be steel. Like it should last 25 years. And if we're using plastic, which is then a short life cycle and then polluting a lot, okay, great. You're cleaning your bedroom at what cost? So if everybody bought a plastic air purifier, the rate in which we're polluting the outside would still be a net negative. So it had to be here to stand the test of time and be infinitely recyclable. So if those break, we take them back as just a steel tube. That steel tube is going to be around for decades. So then it had to be powerful. So size matters. It had to have a certain size because it needed to be able to move enough air on its silent mode. So usually, like if you have a little air purifier, almost any of them, they'll work. They'll do a job in the bedroom, but they have to be full speed all the time. Anything less than full speed, they're not doing anything. So I wanted something that was really effective even at the low speed. And then we put in really high-end commercial grade sensors. So if we went back like 10 years ago, those sensors could have costed me like a couple grand. But the sensor tech has gotten so much more affordable that we put the same quality sensors on there that I'm using on my air quality. Like when I was doing air quality consulting with my fancy commercial probes, we have that level of sensor on there. And I believe that air purifiers are great, but air awareness is way more important and air education. So a lot of people realize, oh, whoa, when I use my hairspray, Jaspr gets angry. Wait, what's in my hairspray? Then they go down that rabbit hole. Maybe it's time for a lower tox hairspray. Maybe no hairspray. Oh, whoa, when I shower, my Jaspr goes crazy. Oh, whoa. There's chlorine in my water when we heat it up with a high level. When it aerosolizes, that's a problem. Crack my windows open. Whoa, it's a polluted day today. You start cooking certain foods. Hey, my ventilation's not working. So it acts as this. I had 2 crazy stories. One guy named Jason was lying in his bedroom, ready to go to bed with his wife, and the Jaspr turned red. They hadn't turned off the light yet for the night. It was still on smart mode. And he knows enough to trust Jaspr that if Jasper's going red, why is it going red? So he walked around his house and he had left his stove on.
Wow.
He had left his stove on and a protein fire was just starting to kick up. So it wasn't enough yet for him to smell it, but there was enough particulate being put in the air that it was detected. And then another lady named Megan, same situation, Jasper's going red. Start to look around, and her dryer, this is a very common source of house fire, is if you don't clean out the lint in your dryer vent, you can have a vent fire. So her dryer was starting to smolder, and she was both of them were able to prevent house fires because the Jaspr knows before your nose knows.
Wow, I love that so much. And you're right, because when it was kicking on, kicking up to a higher level of work, what I did was, of course, Jaspr can do his thing and things are kind of, work themselves out. But I just opened the bathroom window up for a little bit, because Jaspr told me, hey, there's something going on here in the air.
Breathe.
And I love that. I didn't think about that as just an air educator that's always there and letting you know what's going on.
That's why you put the number there, not just the light. So people need to know. And then probably important for people who are kind of new on this journey is like who cares about air in the first place? Like, why does it even really matter? And just a couple power statistics that really made it clear that this was the journey for me was we drink, 3 meals a day. We have eight cups of water if we're a good drinker. So said another way, we eat 2 or 3 pounds of food in a day. We drink 2 liters of water, but we breathe 17,000 liters of air. You can go 3 weeks without food, only 3 days without water, only 3 minutes without air. Air is all night long. The only thing keeping you alive when you're sleeping is air. I call it sleep fuel. There's nothing else sustaining your existence throughout the entire night. It's the first thing you do when you're born is take a breath. The last thing you do before you die is take a breath. And I believe that because it's so fundamental to our existence, it's the only thing that we do consciously and subconsciously. Like even if you have a coma, you could keep breathing. You breathe in your sleep. That is why we take it for granted. So if you're hungry, you get hungry, you go eat. If you're thirsty, you go get water. With air, it's like it's automatic for you. So I think that is a lot of the reason why we're just totally ignorant to it. If you think about it, what water is to fish, air is to people. And like, Casey and Callie use the fishbowl analogy a lot. Do you drug the fish or do you clean the bowl? But really, if you're thinking about the fishbowl, it's air. It's do you, if you have a fishbowl and it's getting murky on it, do you think it's okay to just clean the perimeter of your fishbowl every day, or do you need to filter the water and change the water? No, your fish are going to die if you don't filter and change the water. But our air is like the water, and if we don't filter this air, it's going to make us really sick. So I just like to level set of hey guys, you haven't been paying attention to this thing the whole time because you've been breathing it 24 hours a day. So I just really want to start from that first principles place.
Yeah, it's the most important thing. It's the primary nutrient. But like you said, a fish doesn't know that it's in water. It's just where it lives.
Yes.
The same thing with us in air. And the quality of that air matters more than anything, truly, because especially right now in these circumstances, our air is filled with all kinds of trouble, newly invented chemicals and all kinds of things that we know are a detriment to our bodies. And so my next question is, what can an air purifier do for us in situations like that when we do have all these different chemicals that we're dealing with?
So there's 2 things there. I'll just say I'll start from the critical situation because we're talking about wildfires. In this situation, there's two important layers of filtration. One is the HEPA filter and one is the carbon filter. So HEPA is going to take care of particles, things floating in the air, whether that's bacteria or that's mold or that's dust or ash or soot, things you could see under a microscope. Then the carbon filter uses absorption. That filters out things like gases and odors. So they sort of work in tandem. So the last couple of days, I've been getting to go into people's homes that are of various levels of destroyed. That one photo I was showing you where the whole street is destroyed, what you didn't see is right behind me, there was one home left standing. So that's the folks I was dealing with. And I'm actually helping advocate for them to get their house knocked down. Because everybody's house burnt down. That's sometimes easier. They're caught in this gray zone where insurance is saying, move home. They cannot move back into that house. So insurance is trying to say, just clean it. Are you kidding? That house is not livable anymore. The heat, the stress on the structure, that home, think about your home like a sponge. You have insulation, you have drywalls, you have flooring, you have bedding, you have couches. It's all absorbing all of those materials. You can't get it out. And then 4 years later, the whole street's going to be these brand new homes, and they're going to be this odd old toxic duckling with an unsellable home. So really, first of all, you asked about air, but with a lot of the times here, sometimes when you're that close to the fire, the answer is you really should be knocking that house down. As far as air is concerned, when most people are going in their homes to document things, their eyes are burning, they're getting headaches, they're getting dizzy, a lot of asthmatics. Even just I was talking to the dude this morning at the hotel. He's 10 miles from the fire. He had to go to his respirologist to upgrade his puffer to a higher dose of steroids because he's having trouble breathing at night. And he actually didn't know the fire was impacting him at all. He's like, oh man, I didn't realize I just leveled up my puffer a couple weeks ago because I've been having way more asthma attacks. It's like, of course you've been having more asthma attacks. The air is worse than it was and will continue to be so for some amount of time. So the air purification is a really elegant way to deal with. It's not going to deal with the outdoor air, but the real problem with air is humans are so resilient. We're so resilient. We can handle a little mold exposure. We can take some pollen. We can take some dust. We can even take some chemically smells. It's the 24-hour-a-day beatdown that hurts people. That really chronically beats you down. The most amazing thing, I made these things for wildfire smoke. I didn't think we'd be in the sleep and wellness business. I did not see this coming, but I'm glad that it happened. And a lot of people's seasonal allergies are gone because they would been, the average bedroom we test has 1 million particles in it. Dust, pets, dander, mold, all of it. Hair cells, skin particles, skin fragments, insect parts, all the stuff that's just in the air. Well, when you actually was showing the people at the hotel, when you put a Jaspr in a bedroom, within about 30 or 40 minutes, the air is about 95% cleaner. So now think about two scenarios of sleep. Sleep number one, your body's breathing in tons of mold all night, all these hazardous particles. So you're getting through the night, but your body's playing defense, hardcore, dealing with all these foreign invaders. Scenario two, your bedroom is a clean air sanctuary. You're breathing pure air. You're not breathing all that stuff. So now your body can go parasympathetic. It can rest. It can recover. Memories can consolidate. You breathe better. So not only do people sleep better, but their seasonal allergies are often gone. Because if you have a cup that's like a stress bucket, filling, overflowing, if we can drain that bucket every night, we're good during the day. And we did a study in August with 150 people with Oura rings. So we gifted 100 Jaspers in exchange for 1 month of sleep data. A lot of them were doctors and naturopath and influencers, because I'm like, I'm sick of the studies. Everybody goes on and they quote study, but no one gets to see the study. I'm like, can't we do studies like in the public eye? So I said, in exchange for the free Jaspr, I need 1 month of sleep data. And when we publish it, I got to be able to put your Instagram handle and your name on the study. So people can say, here's the people who did it. Yeah. And the average person slept 25 minutes more per night, 18% more deep sleep, and 5 minutes shortened sleep latency. So they fell asleep 5 minutes faster. And it's not like it's a silver bullet. It's like you went from breathing mold and pollen and drywall dust to not. So it's a massive opportunity for addition by subtraction.
Oh, wow. So powerful. So obviously we have this very evolved and intelligent sensor right on our face called a nose. But can you talk about becoming nose blind and how this unawareness can be fooling us?
It's one of my favorite things. So the term nose blind, I learned about it doing wildfires because, so let's say, Jaspr has a 5 on it right now. That's good. When there would be wildfire smoke outside's like 400 or 500. So recess is canceled, kids, stay home. What you don't realize is the average person's indoor environment's still 200. So everyone's staying inside thinking they're sheltered, but it's still really bad. And you'd go outside and it would smell smoky. You'd come inside and it wouldn't, because relatively it would be a little cleaner, a little less smoky inside. So you have no ability, like with contents, the only way to know if someone's shirt from a fire smells smoky is you have to drive 2 hours. You leave town, you breathe, you put your shirt in a bag, you drive 2 hours, or your couch or your carpet or whatever. You leave it sealed, you breathe the ambient air for a day or two so it cycles through your system, and then you smell the shirt. And sometimes you don't realize, like literally, you could smell, it's possible all your stuff stinks. And no one can tell because everyone's in LA right now. It's possible I'll fly back to Austin tomorrow or the next day and my stuff will smell smoky. Because we're in that, it's like the fish don't leave the radioactive part of the ocean. They don't leave, they just stay because they're not even aware. So yeah, that is a big one.
Yeah, it just reminds me how we get used to a certain smell in the environment. Like your brain basically down regulates that smell, that awareness of the smell, whether it's perfume,
wet dog, cooking, you go to someone's house, it smells for a bit, and then you're used to
a family member with a lot of flatulence.
Yeah.
You adapt, and that's, again, it can fool us into thinking that the air is not a problem just because we can't smell it.
Because humans are good at adapting. Imagine how annoying the experience would be. Like if you lived in a place with bad air and you smelled it all the time, you'd actually do something about it, but it would be really uncomfortable. But speaking of the amazing sensors that we have, they teach us when we're growing up as kids about the five senses: our eyes, our nose, our mouth, our ears, and our ability to touch.
Yeah.
Those, they call that the five senses. But I think this is a very limited perspective. I don't like that they call the fifth one touch. I think it should be called feel in its totality. For example, I love doing this. You take 5 people where everybody's outside and we all say, hey, write on a piece of paper, what temperature do you think it is outside? You'll be shocked. Sometimes everybody says the same number or within one. How do we do that? Nobody says 90 degrees and the other guy says 60. That simply doesn't happen. Well, guess what? You got temperature sensors in your skin. You have the ability to feel temperature. If you're in a dry sauna or in the desert versus a rainforest or a steam sauna, you feel humidity. If you're ever in the winter somewhere, it's dry. I can feel it in my throat, my hair, my skin. You know it. It's dry in here. Whoa. You have a relative humidity sensor in your skin. If I blindfolded you right now and there was a pile of garbage in the corner, you would be able to find that garbage with your eyes closed, blindfolded with your hands behind your back. So I'm really impressed by like the shark or the bear who can smell the blood miles away, but it's like we have those superpowers too. So if you say it's stuffy in a room, that means the carbon dioxide is high. So I've calibrated my CO2 sensor, so it's like a fun party trick. That's why I carry that thing with me. I could be anywhere and I could tell you roughly what the CO2 is and the humidity as well. So this is a very powerful thing because, I have a mold sensor. I could do all the lab testing in the world, but anyone who's tested mold for a living, when you go into a house, in the first 5 minutes if there's mold, the lab data is just for documentation for the homeowner. You could tell right away. So it's really amazing that when your air awareness is enhanced, it's like when you grew up, water was water. You would just drink from the tap and then you're like, that was kind of plasticky. And now, you're big on your filtered water journey. So now if I give you a Mountain Valley glass spring water or tap water at a restaurant or a plasticky bottle and I close your eyes, you know the difference.
Yep.
This ain't you can tell exactly the difference. That same amount of taste is available for air. So I'll walk in the lobby of a hotel, be like, mold, VOCs, high CO2. The same way you can detect the water, the same thing is available for air. And it just, we just have to get to a place where we are in touch with those senses and we trust our instincts because we know what's going on if we just listen to ourselves.
With all this data that we've already received from you, I want to know, again, there's a spectrum of air purifiers. And, I just think about even the filter that is with my air conditioning, for example, at my house. What sets Jaspr apart from everything else?
Yeah, so there's 2 things there. First of all, notice that it's a furnace filter. It's called a furnace filter for a reason. They don't call it an air filter because the only thing that your furnace filter is doing, it's a furnace for the filter, not for your body. So the whole purpose of the furnace filter is to keep large chunks of pet hair, drywall dust, things that would clog up the motor, possibly start a fire and break your filter. That's what the furnace filter is for. That's why when your furnace comes with an original filter, it's actually a very low grade filter. And that's actually what's best. A lot of people started to try to use their furnace filters as air filters. So they put in a big MERV 13, 14. I've upgraded my filter. Big mistake. What this does is it reduces your airflow. It makes heating and cooling less effective. You're trying to use something as a tool that it's not meant for. It can blow out the motor and it still doesn't make your air very clean. Like if anybody would no one does that and then test the air, you won't see really any difference at all. So,
but speaking of the testing, by the way, when you came in here, I felt like the Ghostbusters were coming in here. You had all this equipment and stuff and started reading things. And I felt like I was in here with Vankman and Spangler, and it was awesome. Like, do all the things, man. Tell me what's going on with the air.
The air was pretty good in here. I'm shocked. We're in an office building in Los Angeles, of all places. So the CO2 is in check. It's 614. That's pretty good. The relative humidity's mid 40s. It's in the optimal zone. So for a health podcast, you guys it's even cleaner now because we have Jaspr in the room, but it's pretty good. I've tested 12 homes. I've checked the hotel, and your air is the cleanest indoor environment I've checked so far.
I received that.
So that's
Give thanks,
great news.
Everybody. I'm so grateful for that.
Me too. So Yeah, why is Jaspr different? Well, it's because probably the way I was approaching it from the first place, as like a mold flood fire guy, I'm like, I wanted to make something commercial. It's not the way most people are like, oh, how do we make the perfect air purifier? It's like, let's make it cheap, small, and cute, and have a Wi-Fi app. I'm like, let's do the opposite. No Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth, no EMF, no remote control. Last thing I want to do as a guy who recently went 3 years without a cell phone is make people use a cell phone to control an air purifier. That is nonsense. So simplicity is at its core. It's supposed to not be another gadget to control. The big difference is though, it's the combination of performance and beauty and a bullshit-free experience. So the filter is very large. Like it's more of like what you would find in like heavy-duty commercial machines. It's not our filter inside is bigger than most air purifiers' whole machine. One Jaspr is equivalent to about 5 small air purifiers. So you could have 5 little ones in your room, or you could just have one large one. And then we made it like a condo building. So even though it's large in size, we build up, not out. So its actual footprint doesn't take up much floor space at all. Another big thing is it has a 360-degree intake. So a lot of air purifiers, they only take in air on 1 or 2 sides. So that means it needs to sit like in the middle of the room, because if you put it against a wall or in a corner, it's really restricting the airflow. So it's not able to pull in the particles. It vents up. You don't want anything that vents forward, because all that does is kicks up dust. During COVID, that was a big problem. It was aerosolizing droplets. So you want something that vents up into the breathing zone, not blowing on you when you're walking by. And then the sensor. And then of course the fact that it's dark at night. There's no bright lights. Yeah. But it just when I read not just the reviews, but when someone buys a Jaspr, it says, why did you choose Jaspr over everything else? And there's 3 common things: design, quality, and the 2 words actually works. So my favorite review is I've owned 4 or 5 air purifiers. I was kind of done with them. I never thought I'd get another one again. This is the first time that I invested in one that I wasn't wondering, does this thing even work? I saw it work and I felt it work. Yeah. So at its core, that's what's simplest. And marketers are marketers. So they really mess shit up. When people ask the question, how many square feet does it cover? Because that's usually how people talk about air purifiers. If you go to the store and you see cover 1,700 square feet, extra, extra large, it's nonsense. First of all, are those 8-foot ceilings or are those 16-foot ceilings? Because if it's double the height, it's double the cubic volume. It's not a Roomba. Air purifiers don't care about square feet. They care about volume of air. So be wary of square footage stuff. They also don't tell you, when it says covers X square feet, does it make the air 10% cleaner or 90% cleaner? They don't tell you that either. Right. What does covers even mean? And then they say filters 99.97%. So you hear 2 numbers, a lot of square feet and 99.97%, and you check your box. I've gone to some people's homes that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and they have a $99 air purifier. It was not a financial decision. It was just a box that they were checking. They didn't even really realize the difference. Yeah. So that's why we approached it from a completely different perspective of let's just make the best thing. It doesn't have to be the cheapest, cutest thing. That market is, and we only make one product, right? So a lot of companies, they make water filters, they make diffusers, they're making shower things, they're making 5 models of air purifiers. I'm like, let's just make the ultimate air purifier, just one. It's hard enough to innovate one product. When a company's trying to do 20 things good, what needs to happen is I need the thing that dominates my shower thoughts or my sleep thoughts to be singularly focused. Between health and family and friends and business, I only have so many thoughts that I can contribute in a day. Now, if I have 20 different products, it basically means I can't think about them at all. I'm just thinking about other stuff. So simplicity, 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 and then a bullshit-free experience. So I'm proud of the product we made. I'm even more proud of our support. So let's say your Jaspr breaks. Hopefully you don't find out, but if you do, you'll be impressed. If it breaks, we ship you a new one the next day. You take the new one out of the box, you put the old one back in the box, prepaid shipping label from UPS, and then we schedule UPS to come to your front porch at 9 a.m. and pick it up. Because how much does it suck? Your thing breaks. You got the extended warranty. It's like, do you have the receipt? Do you have the odd-shaped box that it came in? Do you have a printer to print a label? Can you please package it up and go to FedEx? You're like, that's a half a day. I only got so many days in my life. It's cheaper for me to just throw this thing out. So that kind of treat people the way you want to be treated thing, I think really applies to business too. So give the customers the experience you would want if you were the customer. Because without the customers, no business. So that kind of stuff.
I'm so grateful for you, man. You know, I was just even off the record was sharing with you just how excited I am, honestly, to talk with you, because in 12 years of doing this show, I've been in this field for about 22 years. This is the first time I'm really getting educated about the air quality, you know, and it wasn't until something hit me right in the face and being presented with the fires going on, the wildfires, and the consistent pattern. You know, it's been almost every year. It's been some fallout from wildfires here, and it got me making decisions. And I would ask, you know, trusted advisors, people that I know, like, wait, what do you got? What do you got? And it wasn't until I was directed to you that I really dug in and started to get myself educated. And you said it perfectly. Jaspr is helping to educate me, right? And that was a thing that I didn't expect. And it's something that, again, now it's in my bedroom all the time. And it was sitting there, honestly, in a box for quite some time. And it wasn't until this recent incident took place that I was like, I got to get this thing out and start using it. And to see, and the fact that you ran that study and to get that data back, that it makes a difference in your sleep quality, it's going to make it. And what that says is it's just making a difference in your health. And
it's the laziest way to be healthy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Something that you don't have to change what you're doing. It's just changing the environment for you. And this is something I talk about a lot, is that we are a representation of our environment. We can't not be. You know, humans are a product of our environment, and especially when it comes to our health, but we're also a creator of our environment.
Yes.
That's what makes us so unique. And so doing something like this, stacking conditions, I'm a huge advocate for this right now, especially in times like this, but just in general, for everybody, especially if you're not in a place where you can keep the window open in your bedroom at night and you got great air quality in the environment that you're in, you need an air filter. You need an air purifier in your bedroom primarily. Now, of course, you could put these in different places, put in your kitchen. For us, we're going to have,
number one.
You know, having it at the studio. But I'm a huge advocate for this. And your team reached out to me. They hooked up everybody with $400 off as of this recording. Now, listen.
And we're going really hard on the discount now because of the wildfire. It will apply to the whole country, but this is the season to make it as affordable as possible for people.
But with that said, because of what you guys put into this is a limited time thing. So $400 off through the end of the month as of the release of this episode.
Today, February 19th.
All right. So go to jaspr.co/model. That's JASPR. Okay. It's spelled JASPR.co. All right. Not .com, .co.co/model. Use the code MODEL at checkout for $400 off. Again, through the end of the month. Now, if you're listening to this in the future, all right, which thousands of people listen to previous episodes every week, you're still going to get a deep discount you're not going to get anywhere else. It's going to be $200 off moving forward. But right now, it's $400 off. I highly recommend. Again, that's jasper.co/model. Use the code MODEL at checkout.
Well said.
Next question.
Yes.
Why do you feel that everyone should have a Jaspr in their bedroom?
Well, I'll start with you say everybody, but to me, like the reason I came out to LA above all else is for the kids, man. You know, I got a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a baby boy in the oven. And the kids are trusting us to dial in their environments for them. They don't have the awareness. They don't have the money. You know, you said we get to control environments. That's not really true for kids, especially young kids. They have no say over it. And the amount of kids who are sleeping in an environment right now, whether it's the parents, if the parents have no air awareness, then that kid is in a, you know, you bring your baby home on day one and you put him in a nursery and people get a diaper pail and they put it in the nursery. So literally we're all worried about baby proofing our homes and plugs and this and that. And the first thing we do is we have a newborn baby that's sleeping 18 hours a day and we shut the door and we put a pile of diapers in the room. You smell poo. If you smell poo, it is poo. If it is poo, it's bacteria. So day one, baby's born out of the womb. We take him home and we put them in a bacteria box for the first year of their life. And it's like, if we were doing that, what else are we not aware of? You know, we have all the toys, the VOCs, the paint, the cribs. It's all about aesthetic. And we're forgetting the most foundational reason that you have a home is to have a healthy abode. This should be your one environment where it's your clean, your healthy sanctuary, where you can dial in your lighting and your water and your air. So start your question to conclude with the bedroom is, you know, I believe in investing in a high quality bed and sheets. And in order to have a high quality sleep, we need a comfortable bed, good sheets, good pillow, a cool temperature, knowing lights or sounds, and we need clean air. So the fact that you can spend, you know, a little, once you own a Jaspr or another air filter, a little over $1 a day to have clean air for life while you sleep all night long, to me is just the most obvious table stakes thing that one can do for their health is have clean sleep fuel all night for the rest of your life. That's why I travel with this thing. So yeah, if you want to be better and live better, you need more energy, and you can't have a good day without a good night, and you can't have a good night without clean air.
Because of you, I've been looking into the things that our air quality can impact as far as our health, like very practical things. One of those things is our cognitive function. Now, of course, on the surface, it's kind of Captain Obvious that if the air quality starts to be reduced, my cognitive function isn't going to be as good. But there's actually a study that was done, and this was conducted by some researchers at MIT, and it was looking at air quality on chess performance. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's a cool one. And like for anybody out there, there's no point in us quoting specific. We'll talk about this one study, but you can type in on Google or DeepMind or whatever researching tool you like to use, air quality, space, whatever, whether it's dementia, Alzheimer's, fertility, absenteeism, thyroid, skin, sleep. It's not about this air purifier or that, but the amount of like hard evidence on the impact of air on people is wild. So when you look at the chess study in particular, they measured the air quality, CO2 in this case, for chess players, and they would measure the performance of the chess, not just regular chess players, these were grandmasters. So they would take the highest quality chess players in the world. And it's when you make a perfect move in chess, it's called game theory optimal. So that's like playing perfect, as close to perfect as you can. And the higher the carbon dioxide got, the lower quality their moves were. So their cognitive performance, their function, their ability to make, if life isn't just about making high quality decisions, I don't know what is. So these chess masters are excellent decision makers, and their ability to make good decisions was dramatically impeded by bad air. The same thing was true for a very similar study with SAT scores. So a bunch of students taking SAT scores, air quality up and down, clear correlation. The worse the air was, the worse the SAT scores were. Same thing with absenteeism, all kinds of, like pretty much everything.
Yeah, I can see you having a vision of making sure that there's clean air in all these environments. And that's why your heart is so big, and you could hear it in your voice. You could see it in your energy when you came in here, like the Ghostbusters, is to get this awareness out there, but also to make sure that there's an actual effective resource for making pure air, cleaner air in these environments where, again, kids are studying, where our babies are resting, where we're doing work and just wanting to be great, where we're exercising. The list goes on and on. So I want to ask you about cooking. You mentioned it a little bit earlier, but and I just want to ask for some practical stuff too, because
yeah, that's the best.
This is the stuff that, I can ask somebody like you, but let's just say
stuff people could do today for free.
Exactly. Yes. So obviously there's electric stoves, but then there's gas stoves. Is that going to make a difference if we're using a gas stove, for example, in the environment?
And I will just tell people also, one of the best air purifiers that you can possibly get, it's a DIY. It's actually called the Corsi Rosenthal box. Literally, it's a DIY air purifier. You can make it for about $100 at home. You basically take a handful of high-grade furnace filters and a box fan, a million YouTube tutorials and stuff. If you just type in DIY air purifier, and it's called the Corsi Rosenthal box, it's pretty good. It's way better than most of those air purifiers you'll get. Downsize, doesn't have sensors. It's a little ugly. It's a little loud. But I mean, for a critical situation, way better than nothing. we're for the people who want it to be easy and beautiful and all that, but there's the DIY models you can make are pretty good. Cooking. So yeah, gas stoves. I've never tested the air quality in a house that had a gas stove and not saw at least 0.5 parts per million of carbon monoxide throughout the whole home. And they talk about safe levels of carbon monoxide. I'm personally of the mindset that I would rather have no carbon monoxide in my house. And I just got a house recently that does have a gas stove. We didn't rip it out right away. It's not sound the alarm situation. But if I'm building a home from scratch, I would not do a gas stove. And if I was going to, I would invest in really good ventilation. If someone's like a pro chef, like live your life, but be aware that it is putting carbon monoxide into the air. With cooking, we're seeing, clean oils, clean food is definitely better. But even still, even if you have a grass-fed, organic, grass-finished steak with avocado oil or however you cook it with butter, even though those ingredients are clean and pure, it will still really pollute your air. That's why you smell cooking, because you're heating food, so you're aerosolizing it. There's chemical reactions that happen between the heat and the protein that creates other compounds like PAH, which can be cancer-causing. So just because you can eat something, it doesn't mean you necessarily can put it in your lungs, which is when, if the air is good outside, open your doors and windows. Use your range hood. So some practical stuff people can do. If you're cooking and the weather permits, opening windows, 2 windows ideally on different sides of the house, so you get a cross breeze and good ventilation. Opening one window doesn't do that much. You need 2 windows so you can get that cross breeze. Another thing, actually use your range hood. They're a little bit loud and annoying, and not just for bacon. Like, use it when you're cooking. That's why Jaspr is nice, because it gives you that awareness of, basically all cooking impacts my air. When you're cooking, especially if you're boiling or simmering, use the back burner, because the range hood picks up way more of the particulate from the back burner than from the front burner. Another big one is make sure your vent, by the way, when I'm saying range hood or like cooking vent, these are synonymous. They mean the same thing. So the range hood is just a vent above the stove. Now, if you use that thing, first make sure it works. So I call it the tissue test. Take a paper towel or a napkin or a Kleenex, turn your vent on, hold it up, and make sure it's pulling it. Over 50% of the time, it doesn't even work. So let's make sure that vent that's supposed to be exhausting the cooking particles out of your house, make sure it's pulling the tissue up. It should grab it a few inches away and it should hold it there solid. And then 2, where is it actually venting? So a lot of the time it's venting into behind the drywall, in your attic, into some other part of the home. It should be venting directly outside. If it's not, this is a very easy fix. This is like $200 for a handyman to make sure it's venting outside. Same thing with bathroom fans. Because you take a shower, those fans in the bathroom are not for poop smell. They're for humidity. So you take a shower, think about it. Think about how much water your towel can soak up. So you're done showering, there's water, a little bit on the floor, a little bit in the bath or the shower. Your towel's holding several liters, gallons. Where do you think that water goes? It's in a trapped environment. So it increases your humidity and gives you a lot of mold problems. So that bathroom fan is supposed to get that humidity out of your house. Often it's just venting right in the attic, which is why so many people have attic mold. So what you want to make sure is, same tissue test. Take a tissue, make sure that bathroom fan is actually pulling it, and then make sure that's going outside. You don't want to keep all that humidity. These are like easy wins. And when you're done a shower, you should really be running that thing for a couple of hours. Because if you turn it off after the shower, that's when you need it. The water is all still sitting there. So you can get an upgraded bathroom light switch. So some of the bathroom fans have timers on them. If you can get one that has like a 2-hour timer, it makes your life easy. It's like $15. You can switch it yourself. That way, when you're done the shower or before you take a shower, hit the 2-hour button. Don't think about it, and it's going to exhaust that out of your house. The other big one is just less toxins in the first place. So using cleaner soaps and dishwashing detergent. Branch Basics is a very good brand, but there's others. Using water and vinegar. If you smell heavy fragrance, let this be an indicator to you that it's not good. So cleaner, less toxic cleaning products, laundry products. You'll notice when you use your dishwasher at home, your house stinks. That is one of the only appliances that has chemical gas that doesn't vent outside. So your dryer vents outside, your dishwasher doesn't. You see that steam coming out of it. So you had like that little chemical cleaning pouch and it just gases your house. So that's opening your windows if you don't have air filtration when you're running your dishwasher. No shoes in the house. And I moved to Texas a few years ago. It's always shoes in the house. 95% of shoes tested have fecal matter. How could they not? You walk outside with them. Also, they have glyphosate from the front yard. So you got your shoes on outside. It's got glyphosate, all the crap from the street. It's got the poop. You come home, you're walking on your carpets, you're walking on your floor, and now that's on your surface. Now that's kicking up into your air. So the best thing you could do is not bring in more unnecessary pollutants in the first place. So those are definitely like a few easy, low-hanging fruit wins. Opening windows, making sure vents are running, use less toxic stuff.
This is awesome, man. Okay. I got to ask you this. I don't want to freak people out too much, but let's talk about carpets. You just mentioned, again, walking in the house with shoes on. With carpets, I think a lot of stuff in the environment is going to settle into the carpet, isn't it?
So the number one thing I've been telling people whose homes I've been inspecting from the smoke is either removing your carpets or getting them HEPA vacuumed and steam cleaned. Carpets are absolutely disgusting. So actually, we could, I have a little demo to show you this carpet. So right now, the total particles in the room are about 28,000. The PM 2.5 is the most harmful particles. It's about 1,500. So we have about 30,000 and we have 1,500. PM 2.5 is the particles that are small enough to enter your lungs and your bloodstream. So that's the same thing Jasper's reporting on. Now I'm going to do what's called a disturbed sample. I'm going to take the same test above the carpet while I'm tapping on it. And this is a clean office carpet. It's not in a house. There's no pets in here. But watch this. So we had 30,000. We had 1,500. Watch this. Prepare to be mind blown. 4, 3, 2, 1. Dude, check this out. So we went from 30,000 total particles to 262,000.
What?
That's a 9x. And the most harmful particles, that was 1,500, the one I was showing you, 135,000. So what's that? An 80x. An 80x. Yeah, that's called a disturbed sample. So when I was going to people's homes who had wildfire stuff or pets, we test their air, but then you do a disturbed sample. Now, that is indicative of every time you walk on the floor, it kicks up. Your HVAC, the air is hitting it, it kicks up. Your pet's running around, it kicks up. So don't think that what it stays in the carpet. That's a sponge that's constantly, exhausting into your home. So it is just the most fibrous thing in your home that is just like an absolute bacteria, allergy, poop sponge. When you do carpet cleaning, the water comes out black. And most of the stuff you can't even see.
The word that describes how I'm feeling is bothered. I am bothered right now because, like you said, this is a very tiny carpet. It's clean in here, but again, we obviously cannot see what's actually in the air, and so to think about the carpets and the places that I've been and just like, this is blowing my mind, man. That was crazy.
That's crazy.
All you
right?
did was just tap on the carpet for a little bit.
Yeah. Same thing to a lesser extent, but
oh my
the
gosh.
chair, the bedding. So when an insurance company is telling someone to keep their beds or carpets, like that's crazy. So, rugs are comfortable, they're cozy and this and that. So, it's a tough balance, but like if someone has carpets, getting them steam cleaned twice a year, getting your ducts cleaned, the ducts are the lungs of your home. And people will go 5-6 years without cleaning them. So like an annual duct cleaning and a carpet cleaning, like these are not the areas that I'm looking to save money. Like my air at home, duct cleaning, to have high quality air filters, several of them, get annual steam cleaning and duct cleaning, we're talking maybe $1,000 to $1,200 a year for a whole family, for a whole house. So we're like $4 a day. And we're like pretty dialed in and you get to keep your carpets. So yeah, generally I like a house without carpets. I prefer rugs over carpets. They can be shaken out. They can be cleaned better. But like, yeah, those like super shaggy carpets. Oh man, what's real crazy is what we just did. I can actually do another thing, not with that, but we collect a sample and we send it to the lab, and then they do a zoomed. It's like AI with 3D imaging, and it shows you the pictures of the particles. You'll see all the different bugs, and it will be like a living zoo of all the different things that are on that carpet. And that's where we lie down. That's where our kids play. That's where our pets roll around. And guess what? Nothing on that carpet came from the carpet. When you see dust on a counter at home, do you think the dust, let's say like you have a TV media unit and there's dust on it, do you think it magically emerged from the media unit, or do you think it came from the air? You know, we think dust, but how did the dust get there? Dust is just a symptom of bad air. Dust is not even one thing. Dust is a collection of things. So it's not a singular thing. So yeah, when you see, there's no dust outside, unless it's like sand or desert or something like that. There's no dust on your yard, dust on the sidewalk. Dust is an indoor problem because the world's best air filter is nature. But unfortunately, we trap that shit outside. And then this happens.
You have just blown my mind, truly, and I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for having the courage and the willpower to do something like this for us, to educate us, because this is one of those things, again, it's just hiding in plain sight, right? We don't know that we're existing in this environment where our air quality can deeply determine how we feel and our health outcomes. And so I appreciate that so much, man. I can't even stress that enough. And I feel a little bit bothered now just seeing what happened just with this carpet.
Ignorance is not bliss.
Right. Exactly. And so we can't act like this isn't happening. And so you just provided us with a checklist of basic things for us to do. And so I implore everybody to make sure that you're checking those boxes, especially if you have carpets, to emphasize what I just experienced. And also, again, if you want to make a great investment in your health, make sure to get yourself a Jaspr, at least one. But get a Jaspr, or maybe if you're looking at getting them in multiple bedrooms, maybe one in your kitchen, whatever works for you, maybe in your office space.
My promise is to people is that whether it's Black Friday or anything, it will never be cheaper than this.
Yeah.
That is my commitment. If this is the week to invest in air purification, the price will never be lower than this. So it is a good time for those who want to take advantage of the situation. When there's disaster and destruction, there's always a silver lining. And in this case, 12,000 people lost their homes. Another 100,000 people have a smoke damaged home. But when there's destruction, there is an opportunity to do things better the next time. So what would be a travesty is to not use this for an opportunity to build homes that are better. Better building materials.
Yeah.
It does not cost much more money or any more money to build a home with good air, good water, good lighting, and a better layout. We want our kids off the iPads and the iPhones, but our living room is just 2 or 3 couches pointed at a TV with just a giant iPad for the whole family. So it's a wonderful opportunity to say, hey, we get to rebuild our house again now. How do we actually spend our time? How do we want to spend our time? What exists? Google healthy home construction, healthy home builder, healthy home architect. It does not cost any more money to dial this stuff in. Jaspr is it's a great Band-Aid solution because you can plug and purify right away. And long term, my biggest vision, that the thing that I'm here on planet Earth to do, is to teach people how to build better homes and better communities. And the folks in LA, if not them, then who to start pioneering this? Tesla came out with the Super Roadster first and then got it down to 15 years later, it's $25,000 Model 3s. So it's a great opportunity. You can build a house that's smoke-proof, allergy-proof. Don't just focus on the beautiful finishes and energy efficiency, because at its face value, energy efficiency is in direct odds with environmental health, because you're making your home this trapped little box where the air can't come and go and your home's not breathing. So when you're working with your architect and you're working with your builder, ask questions. You can go to ChatGPT and say, how do I build a healthy home with good air? What would I do to make a smoke-proof house, an allergy-proof home? And make sure you're working with builders and designers who are speaking this language, because you have an amazing opportunity now to build your home that's actually not, when a home's built, there's no time when the architects and builders are saying, they want to build a home cheap, fast, and effective, especially a big box builder who's building 1,000 homes. They're not sitting around and saying, how do we build this healthy abode for this family to raise their children in? That's not part of the conversation. So they talk about, oh, America has a housing crisis. We're short 4 million units. I'm like, when you call them units, of course we're not putting love into these things. These are people's homes. So on the supply side, we need builders and architects and developers to start building healthier buildings. But us as the head of families who have children that are counting on us to deal with this, you can build a house that's mold-proof, fire-proof, smoke-proof, clean air, clean water, clean lighting, etc., good ventilation, maybe a smaller living room and a bigger screened-in porch. Use this as an opportunity to build a healthier home and share it. Everybody's got these social media accounts, so maybe one less dancing supplement discount picture and more showing people, taking them through the journey of how you're building a healthier home. Like, this is an amazing opportunity for someone to nerd out and turn this negative situation into a positive one and share that. So that's important.
Yeah. Thank you for that, because awareness is that first domino, and there are a lot of people who are decision makers and powerful who listen to this show who could start to push this message forward. So thank you for that so much. And again, especially where you spend most of your time, we spend about a third of our lives in our bedroom, about a third of our lives in our workspace. And then the other third kind of everywhere else. But get yourself the very best air purifier right now. I mentioned earlier, limited time till the end of the month, $400 off. Go to jaspr.co/model. That's jaspr.co/model. Use the code model at checkout, $400 off through the end of the month. After that, if you're listening later, you're still going to get $200 off. I appreciate you so much.
Thanks, man.
For getting it in gear and getting here, because I know, again, I felt like, listen, this situation is going on right now. I don't want to wait.
We can't wait.
And so I appreciate that very much, because you really did make some moves happen to get here and to share this with us and to share your heart.
We made it count.
And I'm better because of it. My family is better because of it, because of you. And so I appreciate you so much.
Likewise, man. Feelings are mutual.
Hey, if you like this video, make sure to check out this video right here.
Our sense of smell is a survival mechanism, right? You got to be able to sniff out, is there toxic gas leaking somewhere? I need to know this so that I can run away and survive. But now our systems are getting muddied and there's just too much input and there's sensory overload. There's fragrances everywhere. We should start to question this stuff. Why is there so much fragrance in everything?